This topic today is around OKRs, so setting objectives and managing key results as an alternative to managing strategy and portfolios with business drivers. So for quite a while, we've been discussing together with several of our customers how we can combine and connect agile initiatives or teams together with more traditional driven projects and business cases inside the same portfolio and maybe even connected to the same strategy. And for that, OKRs seems to be the choice or the method of choice for many organizations that have succeeded in this space, like Google and others. And that has been the standard we're now trying to embed inside our portfolio management tools. So let's begin, because we have limited time, considering we also just lost a few minutes. So first up, the topics for today, sort of in an agenda form. First, a brief intro to Projectum, our company, and then Power Platform on a one-pager, why that sort of is I think, the most important part for Projectum right now and the customers we serve. More on that later. And then Power PPM, which is our main product. We have 5 in total, but one of the products for portfolio management, well, also project management, but targeted for portfolio management. Then I'm going to give a brief intro to OKRs, so the method of managing strategy in objectives and key results, but in the context also of project portfolio management. Then I'm going to show you how it works in Power PPM, and then we have some room and time for hopefully some Q&A at the very end. And feel free to ask questions along the way also, because we have the chat that goes on the right-hand side of my screen as well. So let's begin. My name is Peter, for those who don't know me, and I've been doing project portfolio management with Microsoft technology for the last 18 years. So that's more or less my entire work life. That has brought me through more or less everything that Microsoft had to offer in the project space. So every sort of certification out there I've been dealing with since 2004. And in most recent years, I have sort of transformed into being a business application expert and MVP within the Microsoft MVP system. And for that reason, also an expert in that field. And that is what, when we say business applications, also means Power Platform and Power Apps in particular. Having done this for so long also means I've been working with different methods from Prince2 or PMI standards to, in this case, scaled agile. And most often we find that quite a few people get inspiration from these, or quite a few companies get inspired from these methods, but they always sort of manage the business their own unique ways. If we look at Projectum as a company, it's fairly simple. We are here to make companies achieve their goals. So I think OKRs couldn't be a better sort of suit for us. Our mission is to ensure that our users of our technology and the products we have available feel good or gain good vibes from using them. Too often we are taking over from other portfolio management or project management tools where they might be very advanced and very complex and do very complex things, but essentially they're not always very good at bringing good vibes and a good user experience to the end users. So we want to change that. That is our mission in this company. So to achieve that, we have a customer promise. And one thing is that you should feel our passion, because having done 18 years only in the PPM space means we've learned a lot. And many of us have been around since the beginning. So we love the space of PPM, and our customers should feel that when they also get our advice. We also hope that our price point and our sort of offerings are a clear business case, so that it's fairly simple to work with us and engage with us. And then we want to make sure that we stay ahead and help our customers stay ahead. So setting the scene for trends, not just following them, and ensuring that best practices across all customers we have are shared as much as we can. Because again, quite honestly, we often see that areas like risk management or finance management is quite often the same thing people are looking for. So there's no need to always reinvent the wheel if we can sort of skip it, that part at least of the analysis, and instead just share latest and greatest best practices. And of course, as mentioned before with our mission statement, having amazing user experience is by far the most important thing for us right now. We are getting lots of support from especially Charles Lamanna, who's leading the space of Power Platform or low-code area. And for the last couple of years, we have transformed the entire company into being an all-up Power Platform and Power Apps in particular partner. So everything we have is sort of built for the low-code, no-code space or platform. So we see the Power Platform as an enabler these days for many of the PMO directors we're working with, or portfolio managers and project managers, to actually also build and extend what we offer themselves, because it does not require you to be a developer. So that's why the Power Platform is also growing so fast, in my opinion, right now. So to focus on the 5 things we sort of have off the shelf, one is timesheeting. That's not to cover today, but we have a timesheeting tool that's extremely modern and fast and responsive, working from within Teams. Just as a thing to mention here is that it works across several inputs. So it can be Azure DevOps, Jira, Freshdesk, like in this case, or Power PPM, as I'm going to show you today, or any other tool you might have can stream data into this timesheet. So instead of having enforced a certain way of managing tasks, we can, with this tool, allow you to timesheet in Teams and then connect to any tool of choice you might have to manage your tasks in. Further, we have portfolio management as our tool, which is called Power PPM. I will show a lot about that today. And as you can see, it's a lot about reporting and tracking and planning, top-down versus bottom-up, money side of things, resource side of things. And talking about resources, we also have a dedicated tool for resource management called Team Planner. So this tool has been made for all the big matrix organizations out there, which is 99% of the customers we work with, to have a tool that can facilitate the handshake between project managers and line managers when they talk about requesting roles or people and managing capacity and demand, and ensuring that that can take place in Teams, and especially outside of Excel, where quite often people do most of this type of work. So that is called Team Planner. Then we have Power Hub, which is a place for us to offer a database as a service in Azure that allows you to audit and snapshot everything that you have of data from our tools and other tools as well. And with all these deltas or snapshot values created, it allows you to start, in this case, as shown here as well, to predict looking ahead based on past experience, where things might be heading. It's not AI, it's not advanced, complex algorithms or machine learning. It's generally speaking, just taking data that we know from the past and using that to interpret what could happen in the future. And that's a good starting point for many who are looking at sort of having more data-driven decisions. And then finally, we still have a tool called Presented, which is also for Power Platform. Simply speaking, it's a flow that allows you to export all your data in real time directly inside, for instance, PowerPoint. In this case, could also be Word. And instead of dumping in some flat picture files here in your status reports, it allows you to inject the data into the real charts, the native charts of PowerPoints. So if you're good at doing PowerPoints and you like to do great looking designs or have a great looking status report with lots of cool charts, we can allow you to have this one click of a button experience to pull your data and push your data into your existing templates. It's called Presented. So those are sort of the 5 key products we have, and all combined, we believe we can help digitalize more or less any PPM setup or PMO setup, or also agile setup out there, and improve the way to run the business. So when we look at it from a Microsoft perspective, our products works with Power Platform, especially Power PPM, that is of the main interest today. And all the data we have is stored on Microsoft Azure. And considering Azure is quite often within the boundaries of our customers already, it also means that security, GDPR standards and other things, compliance issues are something where we tap into what you have already. So all the stuff we have is implemented and installed within your tenants in the Microsoft ecosystem for better security and fast tracking the whole deployment experience. So back to the real focus of today, which is again OKR. So I'm going to give you a brief intro to OKR in the PPM context. There might be some on the call who've worked with it before or know everything about it. I'm going to be just very brief on setting the scene. So for those who haven't heard about it, there'll also be an intro there. But essentially, just to be clear on that, OKRs is not a thing or a feature that we invented. It's a thing that's been around for quite a while. And has been an inspiration or source of inspiration for many, not just Google, but as it says so on the book here on the front page, Gates Foundation, but several companies that have excelled and succeeded in growing fast, and especially in tech. And I can only say that if you are new to this space and want to learn more about it, this is probably the book to go and read, Measure What Matters. And essentially, as it also says on the left and right side here, OKRs is about having a collaborative goal tool that allows any person actually, or team or department, to connect directly into the strategy and be part of the executing and delivering on those goals that you've set inside your strategy. So it's about tracking progress, creating alignment, and encouraging engagement around the goals. And the point is that many of these things are also topics for a portfolio manager, also in a traditional context. So alignment has been a big thing for most managing several projects within a portfolio setup. How do we align our projects against strategy? How do we track if we are working against strategy? And so forth. So when we look at it from a breakdown perspective, I gave a few examples here. So you have objectives as a thing that quite often is connected very closely to your vision or your mission. Could be something like gaining amazing revenue growth. And to achieve that, or to ensure that we are there and we've delivered upon that objective, we will measure it by closing 1 million euros in new deals in a certain year, for instance, or win X amount of new customers in a certain region. So that's the results part. Then we have our initiatives that could be translated into your projects. So initiatives that are running and that will support you being able to execute and deliver on the key results, which will combined allow you to reach the key objective, which is quite often part of your mission statement. Same thing could happen for a best-in-class user experience, where you might want to measure it based on user satisfaction in percentages. And again, you could have many different initiatives leading up to that. One could be run 4 customer focus group meetings or build and release a new version of something. And the trick here is that these projects or these initiatives might not have a benefit realization plan anywhere, because we know that the overall purpose for these initiatives is to execute on the key results. So for those who are more traditional or experienced in PPM, this might resemble a little bit on the program management part, where the program carries the business case. And then you have sub-projects sort of helping you achieve that goal. In this case, we just have the key results defining why we're doing things. And then we have supporting projects and initiatives helping you get there. To summarize this in short, so you should still go ahead and read the method and read up on the theory and the books and so forth. But to summarize it, objectives shouldn't be a thing you have more than 5 of. That's at least according to the theory. Should not have any metrics as such. So this should be a bold, ambitious statement, something you're proud of achieving, something where you know you want to reach it before an end of a certain year or quarter. And it should be ideally described in 14 or something words and in 1 sentence, something you can remember. The key results is something where we know this is how we made it, or when we've made it, it's because we've achieved this target. So it has to be measurable, which means it's always a metric. Could be a number, percent, currency. Someone should own it and lead it. It's not the project manager for sure. You should have a baseline. So if you want to achieve 40 new customers in the APAC region, you first have to start with how many customers you have already. Might be 0, might be 5. Then your target might be 40. And then you want to per month, per quarter, track where are we now. So that's sort of how we drive the key results and the tracking of performance. Then the initiatives. I guess since this is a PPM call as well, we all know what that means. That's the sort of the project standard. So you have a person driving the initiative, could be a project manager. You have full ownership for that person to establish start, finish dates, tracking progress, creating the schedule, tracking KPIs, and ensuring that these initiatives are linked back to the key results. So that's sort of the pyramid of things. Then we also run quite often into people who says that, well, we also have other things than mission statements that are bold objectives with key results. And in this case, we also have these KPIs. And the KPIs are more like the business as usual areas. These are the things where you say, we need to make X% of earnings per year in EBITDA or something similar. And the things you'll quite often see that connects to that is a process more than an initiative. So the example could be that we have to track our timesheets every week, or every employee has to submit time every week to ensure that we can reach a certain KPI. But the right-hand side is more into the transformational area. This is where you do something completely new to achieve something you've not achieved before. So it's not business as usual. So that's sort of the differentiation between KPIs and OKRs. And of course, sometimes they can connect to some extent, but ideally they should both connect to your mission and vision, because your mission and vision will also consist on growth targets for more traditional KPIs or status quo statements. But that's sort of the quick and dirty differentiation between the two. So then we have customers who are running scaled agile in any sort of version. And what happened in scaled agile 5.0 is that there was also an introduction to sort of advancing the themes that is part of scaled agile for those who are into that. And quite simply set up here, OKRs has been sort of added as a technique to enhance the way we can manage with strategy and ideally connect portfolio visions of the portfolios that we have together and back into your enterprise strategy or your mission and vision. So sometimes just having a header saying theme is not enough. You need more than that. And to ensure that we can sort of get out of PowerPoints when it comes to creating our strategies and track them, also in an agile context, I can only advise that we can sort of help you implement OKRs on top of scaled agile. So that's sort of how it fits into that. That brings me to the more traditional PPM context. Those who've seen our webcast before know that we work with a framework called controlled agility, where we have portfolio management, we have governance. So portfolio A is some place we want to sort of as a container inject several projects. Could be like a grow, run, transform portfolio setup. To start up a project there or an initiative or close it down or run it completely, there's a set of governance. You might have large and small projects, so different types of initiatives. You might even call those initiatives something like business cases, projects, epics, if you're into agile, that needs management in some sort of streamlined way. And then you have your tasks down here. And we see that we have tasks done in a more planned approach where we try to stick to the plan. We have the agile projects that still has a start and end date with a fixed budget perhaps, but where we run and execute the scope in sprints based on a backlog that is prioritized, which is not the same as having a fixed team. Because the fixed team setup is more likely that the team in itself is a business case connected directly to a product or similar. And these people in that team will go on, as long as you allow them to create new items that have the highest priority and start working on that until someone will close down or change that team setup. On the right-hand side, we then have people management. On the left side, we have timesheeting or tracking actuals. The point is that we then have OKRs in some organizations as the sort of the combiner between what is in fact the portfolio, what is it doing, and how does it relate to the initiatives that are running. So this is the way we connect to strategy instead of just having business drivers, for instance. So you could argue that the portfolio can be created top down, and before you add any projects or initiatives into the portfolio, you will have set up objectives and key results just for that portfolio. And then you start to add in or create new initiatives within that portfolio. So that's the way we see things from a sort of traditional PPM context. So when we talk about digitalizing everything, then of course, the way we sort of design our tools is always tailored for the way of working at our customers. We don't treat things as project teams. We consider people working in teams as a group of people trying to achieve something. Whether that be a project or an agile team or whatever it is, it's a team of people, so more than one, working together to achieve something. They can do that inside teams like we're doing today and collaborate and similar. But on top of that, we quite often see that the work that takes place needs to be grouped into certain things. It could be your objectives, it could be your portfolios. So this is our view on things. It could be an IT portfolio or more like new product development or software development, doesn't really matter. Point being is that all of these ways of working and several teams' ways of working typically require the same capabilities to sort of collaborate and report upwards inside the organization. So no matter who we run into, and we have many different companies that we work with in Projectum, whether they are from the car manufacturing industry or from the pharma industry, we quite often see that they share the same requirements capability-wise. So they need something to do financial forecasting in, they need to track initiatives, team collaboration, risks, ideation, benefits, and so forth. So we set out to create a tool that sort of had these capabilities on day one available. Of course, they need configuration. So caring more about the capabilities and the features out of the box than if it's portfolio type A or B. And again, this translated into something that we call controlled agility. where that's our standard way of sort of implementing tools in a certain sort of direction or sequential. Sometimes we start with resource management, then we take on sort of project management and portfolio management, sometimes the opposite. But we have a way, let me just zoom in here, to also support it with Microsoft technology. So what you see here is that we have Power PPM, our application I'm going to show you up here, that has projects, initiatives, programs, portfolios, strategy, and so forth out of the box. We also have our own way of managing schedules or timelines. And the thing is then that it might be that you will use a more traditional tool like Project, or in our case, schedules inside Power PPM to create your Gantt charts. But you might also have teams who says, no, we're not using Gantt charts. We are relying on DevOps or Jira or Planner or Trello or maybe Monday.com. So tool of choice. And especially in the agile setup, we can of course then connect to those tools and make sure that they roll up the important data into your portfolios. What we also see is needed quite often is still sometimes a sort of master schedule or master timeline for your agile initiatives. So quite often we see that even though you're using, let's say, 3 very Kanban-driven tools, there is still a need to sort of connect the dots across these 3 or for each into more like a traditional timeline. So we offer that capability and also offer the capability of cross-connecting the different deliverables or features or whatever you're trying to roll up into your timelines. And then, of course, we have Team Planner, our tool for, again, like I showed in the beginning, resource management and timesheeting. And out of all of this comes an extensive Power Hub, so database that you can use for reporting, and then we can use Power BI or Office documents, doesn't really matter, to sort of create beautiful looking reports based on templates that fits your corporate layout and visuals. So that was a long intro here, and the final slide that I have on this level is that we chose the Power Platform and went all in on that one a few years back, mainly because it was allowing us to, without developers, structure the whole breakdown of our work any way we would like to. So if you have portfolios as the top, then programs, or if it's key objectives, then key results, doesn't really matter. We even have customers who have tournaments and other events and tasks as their breakdown. We have people working with work streams and programs and sub work streams and those sort of things. So with Power Platform, we can create any entity and combine the dots any way we would like to, top down or bottom up or both. We have process automation, not just for stage gates for your project, but for everything. The intake of a new project, the creation of a risk that automatically leads to a mitigation and so forth. So there are so many things that are of relevance to any PMO setup that I've met that are just out of the box capabilities that the Power Platform offers. That's why we think it's extremely important that in the future you look at PPM and the PMO IT tools from a platform perspective more than just a product perspective. So live demonstrations is something I love to do, so we have plenty of time to do that today. So I'm gonna just briefly go out of PowerPoint and remove this and just go full screen here. So as you can see, we have arrived right inside Power PPM, so our application. This is sort of an out-of-the-box setup. In the most recent edition we are about to release, which will be probably available just after summer. So for those who are already Power PPM users, you can also reach out and ask how you can get some of these features. And for those who are completely new, if you are to buy something from us, it will probably be what I'm showing you today that you'll get your hands on quite soon. So right now I arrived inside the Power App. I arrive actually in a dashboard that is focusing on tracking strategy. We'll get back to that one. But of course, Power BI is an embedded part of the Power Apps experience. This could also be shown in Teams, but right now we just embedded it inside Power PPM, so you don't have to move away from it. Other people prefer to see reports more from a traditional PPM context. So right now we're looking at the sort of the output of having a tool such as this one. But what you're seeing here is a more traditional way to balance and see how much you're spending of money for your projects or your initiatives against how much you should be spending. So those who are familiar with Project Online or Project Server know that sort of way of thinking was also part of that tool. And it's still very useful to see that you are in this case spending 15% on your money on these initiatives that are not connected to your strategy, or that you are not spending any money on anything supporting next generation products, which is perhaps your most important part of the business. So still we have that capability. And the same thing could be said around portfolio dashboards, tracking financials, having a timeline based on various sort of portfolios, ideation views, or even timesheets if that's what you're into. So of course you will rely on reports as well, where Power BI is a very efficient tool for that. If you don't have Power BI, you just want to get it as a standalone Power application, we actually also offer you this experience. Here you'll see charts that are rendered and a native part of any Power app, if you know how to build them, of course, where we have created lots of data ready to be used. So if you want to look at risks, for instance, you have them here. You can always expand any chart you look at, click on it, and then see based on, let's say, I think we have something like owner, who owns these risks. I think it's all me, by the way, but then we'll see a chart showing that I'm Peter and I have 41 of these risks assigned to me. And you can even drill down further based on risk type or risk name or portfolio that they belong to, and so forth. So there is actually quite useful and powerful BI available from within Power Apps or Power PPM. And then if you want to take it the next step further, you can use Power BI. So that was a general intro to the reporting part. Now let's focus on the OKRs. So besides us having portfolios and programs and many other things here in this tool, which I'll get back to, then we will focus on the strategy part. So if we go into objectives down here, this is the place where I can again have a view on my objectives. I have two right now: amazing growth in APAC and greatest place to work. Both have a status. You can have many things shown here if you wanted to. You can also embed the charts right here, so you can see that in this one we are at 90% realization. So across all the key results, the greatest place to work is at 90%. We're getting close to realizing the full potential there. Then we are at 73% in the growth in APAC. So here you could have various different ways of tracking and creating good looking charts, also allowing you to click on it and then see only that data on the right hand side that you're interested in. So if we were to create a new objective, we can click on new, and then we can go in here and say we have an objective called best in class in, let's say, Denmark. So that's just a bold statement. It could be in any industry, and you can of course then describe that in your 14 words down here if needed, and save that. So now it's sort of inside the system here. I'm the owner and the author of this right now, but it might be that someone else will be the leader. So I can just perhaps take Jonathan, who's actually sitting next to me. So he will lead this, and I just created it. We could later on have statusing being done manually. I'll show you also that can be done automatically. We can also go in and say that we're going to launch this initiative or objective, but we want to realize it in 2022 end of year. So we sort of have a raw timeline for this, and then we save that one. So now we have sort of the foundation to begin to set up the key results. So the measurable things, the way we know that we've achieved our objective. So we can go in here and say create new key result. And it was called best in class in Denmark. So as you can see also here, creating key results actually has a process. First we define it, then we measure it, and then we close them. So going back to us being able to give you sort of stage gates and processes in general across any entity you have in the system, not just your projects. So this might be something like win 35 customers in, let's say, Denmark 2021. It could be the first target. Description here, again, if needed, it is already connected to the objective. We want to measure this in numbers, but it could have been currencies. So you want to, make 25 million by the end of some certain point in time. It could be percentages, so increase in satisfaction, increase in churn rates and retention and so forth. Let's take numbers. And let's say we right now have 8 customers and we want again to go to 35. So again, for this key result, that might be something that will only track right now and until end of 2021, even though the objective might go and span 2 years. So until end of this year, there we go. And then we save that one. So now we have a key result and we want people to engage and connect to the key results And to do that, we can go in and have contributors. So some companies I've seen are actually, as part of their one-to-one conversations with their employees, asking them also how they can contribute to these defined key results and objectives. So one example could be that you want to add in people who are like a small team. That could be someone else like Monica from one of our offices. Could be Andreas, who's a product owner and our CTO. Could be Yes, who is from our sales team and commercial team. And these three will then, together with me in this case, be part of contributing and tracking this, and we're maybe even having a meeting once in a while to discuss the progress on this. You can also have something down here called a timeline. Now, this is not to be interpreted as a Gantt chart of anything, but it's a place where you can go in and write comments. We are live, write some text, even format it, insert pictures, upload a document, whatever you want, and then track that as a timeline. So this is from today, then tomorrow you do a new note, that'll be tracked as well. So it's like a discussion board where Andreas, Yes, Monica, and I can track and talk and do things together on the key result level. So far, so good. So let's say that we now have defined the key result. We can then move on to the next stage. And the reason why we are allowed to do that is because we have a start value and we have a target value. So these are your requirements that you can configure as a customer. Let's say we did not have a start value of 8. You would be blocked from moving on, as you can see here. Okay, I didn't do it mandatory, sorry for that. But you can make them mandatory with a little asterisk that I apparently skipped here. But then you would be blocked until you filled out the data, and then you would be allowed to, as a checklist almost, to move on to the next one. So now we are in measure. And this is where we should sort of imagine that now, probably me as the owner of this key result will go in once a month, perhaps, or once a quarter, or maybe even once a week, and track the current status. This can be done manually, or you can import data from your systems if you have other systems that sort of track your revenue or track your amount of customers from a CRM system and similar. If I go into results log, I can go in and create a new status, which shows up here. We can then have the user select the current point in time. That might be 24th of June. And right now, this is the update progress. So let's say that we have a starting value of 8. And right now we have looked into the numbers. We are right now at 16. We think that all things are going great. And here are my comments to that, for instance. So of course, this can be extended if needed so, but out of the box, this is what we've set up for you. And you save that one. The point is that we now have for this sort of key result a starting point. An achievement rate, we are at 46% in this case to achieve the maximum potential goal, which is 35. So now let's imagine that the next month, we're just going to simulate that it is now in July. We are now at 22. Things are still good, safe. And in August, we are now at, I don't know, 31. Let's say things needs attention, safe. So we're sort of building up the history and the log for this tracking. And what you'll see now is that we can start to see the trends and the growth in the tracking of our ability to realize sort of the whole goal setting here, or the key result. You can also expand that. And the more metadata you have around your goals and what you want to track, you can of course then allow people to click here and drill into whatever has been set, commented, made of status, and so forth. So a similar approach to what you saw before. So now we have a key result that is tracked monthly. We can see how far and how close we are to reaching the full potential. We can even export this into predefined Word templates if you have this similar or approach to running status reporting. If we click on the best in class in Denmark, you'll see that it rolls up into the objective level, so that the objective owner or the strategy officer can see all the key results that are happening and where they are right now in terms of realization. And if you have more than one here, you'll just see the average across all of them as the way to track things on the objective level. So going back to this overview, you can also see all the key results in one view, depending on who you are. You can click show chart and again see all the results by health, by objective, by realization, where everyone is going for the 100% mark. And then we've normalized the numbers. So no matter if it's currencies, numbers, or percentages, we normalize everything in percentages so we can compare 3 very different types of metrics and quickly see that This one is the leader right now, getting close to realizing that 70 million euro APAC revenue in 2021 or whatever your goals might be. And also by objective, we can summarize the whole thing and therefore conclude that the amazing growth in APAC ambition is sort of the leader right now. That's a simple way of showing how things are working. And as you can see, what we just created, best in class in Denmark, is already there. So these native charts are always real time. No refresh needs to happen, and waiting for things to sort of synchronize. The data is just real time. Now, if we go into again this one, win 35 customers in Denmark. To achieve that, it might be that Andreas, Jess, and I and Monica have agreed that we need to have X amount of initiatives supporting that, or projects maybe even. That's why we have something here called initiatives. This is very similar to the initiatives up here. So what I can do, I can start up new projects or new initiatives from the strategy area by clicking new, or I can add already existing running initiatives and add them into the view. It could be several. Add. Only only 2 are added because 3 already have a parent. So we can also control if there is a one-to-one relationship, one to many, many to many. So we don't double count or double roll up our budgets, for instance. So this way we can also ensure that if you have an initiative, it has to have a primary belonging in your strategy. You can't just connect to everything. So we can also let go of that, and then everything can just be reused. But here you can now see that we've added 2 initiatives, Diamond Wi-Fi and Donovan DNA. You can see the current task tool they're using, the status, the KPI. You can also here actually see the current health. So you can again build in many different views. Look at this right now. We're seeing the budgets and the actuals per project that we just added in real time. And again, we can expand and then be curious as a strategy owner looking at, for instance, Diamond Wi-Fi. Let's click on the budget here. So what does that Diamond Wi-Fi budget consist of? And then you can drill into, for instance, other cost categories or, tasks for that matter, and see what happens within that specific initiative, depending on your metadata. So if we open up the Diamond Wi-Fi project right here, we go up to the initiatives bucket. So this today is not a matter of explaining how to run portfolio management and project management or initiatives, but are still touching a little bit upon what can we actually offer here as part of Power PPM natively. So what you'll see here is that if I go back and create a new one, that sometimes is easier. So let's create a new project or a new initiative, depending on what you call it. Let's see, we will run a DK marketing campaign that could support our way of sort of winning new customers. We are active right now. Could be a description. We can add a sponsor. That could be our partner here. It could link back to an idea and so forth. We can also give it a starting point. That's right now, or let's say it's actually on the 1st of July. And we have a certain template that we want to use for this. Let's take a simple template or an initiative lifecycle template. Let's take this one and hit save. So now we created an initiative. We selected a schedule template. We set a starting point, which means that when I go to the timeline, I will be presented with an out of the box, as you can see now, template that is being created for us, which consists in this case of all the stages in my stage gate. So you can, if you want business case up here, you'll most likely be in the business case down here. So you have your sort of VBS structure of tasks set up according to your governance. You can then go in quite easily and double click here and add, for instance, a user. That could be me. And it could also be adding one more guy, could be Carsten again. And I will work 15 hours and he will work 35 hours like this. Then we can track actual work in timesheets and so forth later on. If I go back, that means that on the total, we have 50 hours of work onto that specific task. Each task can be tagged in any way you would like to. So you can have certain types of governance areas or headers available. So if I just, let me just expand the screen a little bit here. So you could tag it with, for instance, task, legal, gates, key milestones, whatever it is, allowing you to aggregate the data in your portfolios in a big all-up timeline, and then filter by the current task category of your interest. So besides that, we also have a very easy way of managing finance. So again, creating an initiative quite often comes with a cost. So here you can go in per year, for instance, and add, let's say it's 2021, we will let's go to where we are right now, June. You can have a cost structure completely customized without code by you, where you can say we will spend maybe 45,000 on Microsoft in this case. Actuals that particular month that we're in right now is already at 17,500. We think the forecast might be lower than the budget, 39,000. And that's the same way we can do it across the other entities. We can also click here and then have a little comment, maybe even as a log almost, where we can track over time what has been set on that cost item in a certain period of time. So this way we can manage budgets, actuals, forecast, and other dimensions. We can also have snapshots and approvals, and that's a whole different discussion and maybe even webcast at another point in time. This means that when I click here, this project has a budget, actual cost, and forecast. Saving that one. We then also have risk management. I'm not going to spend time on that right now, but we have that embedded. We have stakeholder management embedded. And we even have a dashboard for the project managers or initiative owners to, in real time again, arrive at a dashboard showing you the amount of tasks you have and category they have, who's included inside this project plan and how much are they allocated, what are the risks like right now, what are we spending our money on, and what are the actuals, the budget, the forecast, and so forth in real time on this page. So that was a quick example on how we can work with initiatives, and again setting something like KPIs with some calculations, in this case saying that we take the lowest point in your KPIs and bring that to the overall status up here. So if you are green all the way through, you are green, but if one of these are red, the entire project is red. So as you can see, without save, without refresh, we have this logic of business rules just part of Power PPM, and that's again showing you the power of our technology called Power Platform and Power Apps. So on a final note here, if I just quickly do a refresh, we can also go in here and then have a business link. So we talked about OKRs right now. Now we're going to show also how this will roll up as initiatives are into a program, perhaps, or portfolio. So this initiative, we can link back to a key result. That could be, for instance, us winning 35 customers in Denmark that we just created. We could also link it to a program like a business roadmap. We could also link it to a portfolio of strategic items, or perhaps other categories like grow, run, transform. Let's take transform and hit save. So this means again that the program owner would be able to go in using programs, clicking on business roadmap, clicking on initiatives, finding out that the new marketing campaign is right here, clicking on financials, manage financials, top down and bottom up, something that most tools are not very good at. So we actually have, as part of the new release, a real financial management functionality for the program managers, which means you have a program level right here where you can go in and set up the anchor budgets for whatever cost item you have inside your system, so 75,000. And then you can, in this view, compare in real time which of these projects down here are consuming what of that budget on the program level. So program level financials, part of it. Same thing for timelines. Now you have tons of projects that has a timeline, and it might be that the timeline is just rendered from your Agile tool, but no matter what, you have a timeline that hopefully I can load, and if not, it might be because I haven't configured it, but then I'll just show it on the portfolio level. Let's see. Yeah, I might not have enough data here. Oh, there we go. Let's see. There we go. So you have your business roadmap up here. Let's click up. That's the overall program level that you're looking at. That's the program, start to end, with an average % of progress across all your initiatives. If you expand that like this, you can look at level 2 or level 1. Level 1 means one line is one initiative. You have the accelerated growth, you have the marketing campaign. Notice also that if we go to the lowest level, we can then filter by key deliverables. This is your delivery plan. This will work for a portfolio, for a roadmap, for a strategy, for a program, again, a portfolio. Key milestones, legal tasks, gate decisions, so your gate plan, any other tasks, or everything. And you can do custom filtering up here. You can also flip the view to a more Excel-like way of working with data. So you can just click here and change the data in this view. Or you can go full screen on your Gantt chart like this, actually completely full screen, like this. Connect, and this is because it's not just one initiative I'm using here. I'm seeing the impact on the overall program or portfolio in real time when doing this. which also means that we can connect from one task up here all the way through to a task in another initiative with a real connection, and even work with something like task lag, elapsed days, and so forth. So just an example on how powerful this is. So going back to the portfolio level as a final remark, going into the transform, same thing applies. The portfolio level can have programs, can have a dashboard where you can see that we now have a new project. We can see the people that are connected to this portfolio. We have risks across all the items inside the portfolio. We can click around here and then see which they are and read about them. And again, we have the timeline, which is then the overall timeline for the entire portfolio, which might be several projects in this case, as you can see. So let's go to little 0. We have quite a few projects here that are going on at the same time. And if we go back to reports, so one thing is having Power BI, but if we go into, for instance, the OKR dashboard, and if you just allow me to take a sort of a little piece of water here, you'll see that this dashboard that will load up now takes a few seconds because I've set it to be what is called real time or direct query. This will pull in real time, and if I'm very lucky, it's a live demo. So let's see, it should actually pull in what we just created. So as you can see, best in class in Denmark objective is now there. And what it's loading right now is not just the key results, but also all the statuses. So if you click on best in class in Denmark, you will find the key result we created together. If we give it a little while to just filter. And there we go. So right now it's actually showing you the real-time progression of this best in class in Denmark achievement. Again, we have only one sort of a key result, so it's fairly easy to see, but these were the 3 snapshots we did together in the demo. You can also see at what point in time did we snapshot the data, what were the status at that point in time, what is the realization in percent, shown like this, the baseline value, the current value, the target value, start end date, or whatever you want to have. It's just a Power BI report. So this was the real-time example on how we can use Power BI to create quite powerful reports showing you how you are progressing with your strategy on objective level, key result level, but actually also on your initiative or more traditional PPM level right inside Power PPM. So that was sort of the big live demo, and with the time I had available, we should also have a little bit of time for questions. I'm just gonna fast forward on the slides here. So I think now is the time to sort of open up and see what has been asked. If you want to know more, of course, you can reach out. And I think also that if you want to try it out, we can also offer a trial experience. And you can actually find that on our website, projectum.com. And reach out and we'll happily spin up a trial for you that you can try it yourselves. We have several partners. So for those who are not from our time zone or in the Nordics or in Denmark or wherever, we have more than 30 partners right now across the globe who will actually be able to assist you in these areas, also in the actual implementation. And right now we actually got one question in here. Can we have program level critical path? Well, the quick answer is yes. And I would say that we haven't implemented it yet. It's a feature that we have in the backlog, mainly for the initiatives level. But I don't see why we can't roll that up to the program level, because it's the same thing that sort of connects the dots. So it obviously requires that you can do cross project dependencies if you want to do it on the program level. But as we offer that, I don't see why we can't do critical path. But it's not a feature we have available right now, but it's on the backlog and it's something we've already looked into that we can do. So yeah, if it's something that is really important, then please reach out and let me know, because then we can also discuss how you see that program should be working with critical path. And I think that we should consider that there are not a lot of questions coming in. So maybe let's round this off. So I can just say welcome, or sorry, not welcome, but thank you for joining. And again, we have the trials available. We also will happily share the slide decks that were used today. And everything you have of questions or concerns, again, please reach out. We will happily answer them. We also have other customers you might be able to connect to if you want to know from other users how these things actually work in real life. So thank you for watching and have a good summer.